I have friends who are like insanely talented painters, and that's like
Thank
the
you.
only thing. You are definitely on that list. Insanely talented, like at like one medium, like super focused on painting, and like they are going far in their career because they can dedicate all of their time and creative and professional resources and focus to that one medium.
Yeah.
And if that's you, congratulations. That is incredible.
Congratulations, bitch.
That is incredible. And you're probably gonna get there faster.
Yeah.
But for me, for us, these scattered creatives, it might take it probably is gonna take us longer to get to that finish line.
Yeah.
But we'll get there authentically and by having fun.
Yeah.
You know? Energetically hot.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the Paris Artist Sessions. I'm here with my dear friend Nicolette, who is an amazing artist and poet, and I thought we'd just talk today about your life in Paris as a writer and as a creative spiritual person, which is something that I think we both have in common. You also brought your typewriter. We were gonna do like some typewriter activities, but it's kind of like a little bit, has like some issues, right?
I like literally, I used to. I just am now christening this typewriter, and I feel like when you get a typewriter, you have to get used to it.
But that's what I love so much about you, is I feel like you're somebody in your creative process that you really take time to enjoy the way you're doing things. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll start by asking you, what brought you to Paris in the first place as an artist?
Have we started?
Yeah! Look at doing. Lighting test. That's why I was like, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So like, what brought you to Paris? It's like my petit courrier.
The best French cookies. Yeah, I have always wanted to move to France.
Yeah.
And it's just been like a dream of mine since I was little. I was obsessed with everything French. And I ended up moving first to the south of France, and I did a master's program at Beaux-Arts.
Yeah, an art school.
An art school, which was wonderful. I was there for 2 years, and then I was like, Paris is calling.
But that's what we were talking about before as well, is you're from LA originally?
No, I'm from Northern California.
Okay.
I spent 10 years in LA.
What were you doing in LA?
I went to film school
there.
Oh,
right, okay.
Yeah, so I went to film school, I went to USC film school, and then after I graduated, I started working in the film industry. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I kind of like, after COVID, I had already had this inkling of like, I want to move to France. Mm-hmm. But that was when I really was like, we're doing this. Like I basically dropped my entire career in film and was like, I just want to move to France.
What were like the people around you saying? Were they discouraging you, or were they like, whoa, that's crazy? Like, what was the vibe of everyone around you when you're like, I'm moving to France to pursue art school?
I think actually a lot of people were like,
jealous.
At least people that knew me, they were like, this makes so much sense.
Really?
Like, yeah,
that's so good.
Was coming a mile away. I was like, really? Okay.
Did you personally have any fears about starting over, or were you like, I just need to go for it?
I mean, inevitably there were, fears of like, am I making an absurd, crazy decision?
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally dropping my whole life and deciding to move to a foreign country in a different language.
Yeah.
And, so there were definitely fears there. But I think the fact that I went specifically for a master's program helped. And I think also my family understood more. It felt like a structure that I was going into.
How do you think, for our viewers who are maybe thinking about moving to France from another country and who are artists, because I think that people have this idea about being an artist here, and a lot of people think it's a cliche, but for me, I think it's pretty true that living in France as an artist, there's a lot of benefits to that. How would you compare living in LA as a creative compared to living in now Paris?
It's definitely a different vibe.
In what way?
I prefer it. But it's just, I don't know, I feel like every city has its own energy, you know? And like, Paris just like fits my energy and the way I create and view life.
Yeah.
Way more.
Do you think it's the attitude of people, or do you think it's more who you are here?
I think it's a combination of both. I think I can be more of my authentic self here.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just like get the French more and like how they view life. I think that in LA there, and kind of this is a very American thing, there was such like a hustle, workaholic, like no sleep ever kind of culture, where it's like if you were not sleeping, if you were like having 5 cups of coffee a day, like you were doing something right, like that was right, you know, you like
I still drink 5 cups of coffee a day. But I have the Eiffel Tower from my window, so it feels like a different experience. I'm like drinking my coffee, I'm like, it's fine because I'm in France.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No shade to coffee.
So this is your first full year in Paris, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me about, as a artist, how it was finding an apartment. I already know because we're friends, but I feel like for people watching,
oh geez.
tell me about that.
Okay. I know I've been meaning to.
Also, I didn't mention this at first, but she has a YouTube channel as well. Is it Hello Nicolette?
Hello Nicolette.
And she does videos about being in Paris. Like now you're doing more like Paris-based videos and stuff. Before it was like art school vlogs, right?
Yeah.
So go follow her on there. But yeah, how was that experience for you? Were you not prepared for what it was actually going to be like?
I don't think anyone is prepared. Like no one.
Like you thought, like it won't be that as bad as people said it's going to be.
Well, yeah, because in the south of France, when I was in Toulouse, like I instantly found an apartment. It was so easy. Like people were like, oh, it's really hard to find an apartment in France. I instantly found it. I like saw a listing on Facebook Marketplace, called them. Photos weren't amazing, but I got there. It was amazing, and put in an application and I got it. And so I was like, okay, so it's gonna be like slightly more competitive, but that's how it's gonna roll.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a Capricorn. I got this.
Yeah. We're gonna do this. I was like, that's not my story. This is gonna be easy. And then I got into it, and I was proven very, very, very wrong.
Yeah.
The market is absolutely wild and insane, and however long you think it's going to take, triple that estimate.
She was about to take my old apartment. That's how that was. No, when she was first coming to Paris, she was like, oh, like I want like a bit, like she described to me what she wanted, and then I was like, well, I'm leaving mine. She's like, no. And then like after 2 months of looking, you were like, actually, but then you found your dream apartment.
I did.
So it was good that you said no to my apartment with the toilet in the hallway.
Yeah, that was definitely a test.
Yeah.
It was like, is Nico gonna take the 13 square meter with no toilet?
Yeah. Which I think like is really interesting in terms of, we were talking about this earlier as well, about trust as an artist, and how I think like growing up we learned to have like this fear-based mindset, when in reality like I think spirituality and trust and having faith that things are going to work out, and you know, showing up with just believing that things are going to happen for you is so much a part of like the artistic process. Like you were telling me about like some clear signs for apartments you shouldn't get.
Yeah, I literally, the first apartment that I went to look at, the woman was like, oh yeah, and like let me show you these blinds and how they work, and she opens the window, like the blinds, and I look out, and on the wall across the street there's graffiti that just says no. N-O. Not even the French no, like not N-O-N, it was the American English no written, and I was like, sign received, message received, this is not the apartment, let's keep looking.
Oh my gosh. So, and I think that's so good that you're able to follow those signs. Like I feel like in my life I've gotten a lot of signs about things, but I will wait until the last minute to be like, okay, fine, I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Like about the other apartment that I almost got with the hoarder neighbor. clearly that was a bad idea, but I was literally trying to convince myself that it was okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really, I think, something that you have to work on to like tap into your intuition.
Yeah.
And I know that you're really big on meditating as well. What is your practice around like meditation as far as like being a creative goes? Do you think that helps you? Like, do you ask questions, or how do you find guidance in like your creative work?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm Oprah, and I'm just like, tell me about the guidance in your creative work.
The woo stuff.
I know.
So much about creativity is listening to your inner voice and your inner guidance and like expressing that, and that there is a necessity of quiet and reflection to do that well. And for me, meditation is just like it's a calming thing. It's a centering thing. It's like getting rid of all the noise.
Do you speak out loud, or do you kind of just like lay there and like
lay there in complete silence
like a starfish? Like, how do you like?
I have considered doing one of those 10-day meditation retreats. Have not yet,
I could
but,
never
like,
do that.
It's on my bucket list. I want to do it. But
Like, you mean the silent ones?
Yeah.
I would die.
Yeah.
I think I would die. What happens if you're on those retreat and then you just talk? Are you kicked out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You need a stern, like.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy is like, I feel like once you start meditating, if you stop, you feel different. Like, I feel like angsty almost. Like, I'm like, if I have a bad day, I'm like, it's because you didn't meditate. It's because you didn't take time to tell, you know, your higher powers that you believe in yourself. And like, it's crazy.
Your mantras.
Isn't it crazy? Like, how much of a difference it can make?
I find that with journaling as well.
Oh, do you journal every day?
Not every day. I want to, and I know I should, because if I find myself getting anxious or overwhelmed, I'm like, oh, wait a second, I haven't journaled in a couple days.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't released my thoughts onto a page.
And then sometimes
they're just all up here.
And sometimes if it's been like too long, you almost like avoid journaling because you're like, fuck, I have so much I need to say. I feel like that I'm meditating too. Like, I'll do anything not to meditate because I know I'm gonna start crying. I'm like, I don't want to cry.
But you know how I've gotten around that is if I'm not in the mood to journal, but I know there's something I should be journaling about, I voice note it.
I do that too. Really? But I'm so scared someone's gonna find my voice notes one day because I'm like, I'm spilling it. I'm like, it's like, I shouldn't say this. I don't want my phone to have names. No, but I like talk to it as if it's like I'm talking to my best friend on the phone or something.
Oh, very cool.
Do you do that?
I do. I recently have really like voice notes, and the cool thing about it is that I like have a folder on my phone with, I call it like diaries or like journals, and sometimes I will go back to like something that I recorded like 6 months ago, a year, and the voice carries so much emotion, and I just can like
listen to it.
You can listen to it and like remember. You're not just reading the words of it, like you're truly remembering and listening to like how your voice sounded when you were talking about that.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I'll like, if I'm going through something, I'll like speak to future Nico.
Oh my god.
And so I like with the apartment journey, I recorded so many voice notes of me like crying, being like, oh my god, like how I know I'm meant to be in this city, but like I can't find my apartment. And I like said some stuff to like future Nico who has an apartment, and then after I found my apartment, I went back and I listened to the voice notes, and I was like, oh, wow, it all makes sense now.
And then sometimes when you forget that you had done a certain voice note and then you listen to it and you're like, this is riveting, and you're like I need to do. I always like look. I have over 1,000 voice notes. And then I'm like, I need to do something with these, like maybe create an album. That's like the part of us that always needs to do something with everything.
The feature on a rap song, Shayna's voice, just.
But then I listen to it and I'm like, oh, like I was on the beach and I was like, this was like a few years ago. I was like talking to this guy at the time, and then I had like just decided to end it, and then I went to the beach by myself, like on this vacation to the Cassis, and I was sitting on the beach and I was like talking about it, and I was like listening to it, and I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. Yeah, I'd have been there.
Listening to your own voice, like from the past. Girl, I get it, yes.
Oh my goodness. And we were talking about this earlier. So you are a writer, among other things. You do performance art too, right?
I've dabbled in performance art. I feel like poetry in itself, when you're
with your voice notes.
My voice notes.
Honestly, that could be something interesting with the voice. Well, we'll think about it. But so, what are like the mediums that you like to dabble in?
Well, I feel like there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I'm interested in. I don't know if you know the Enneagrams.
Yes.
But so I'm an Enneagram 7, which is the enthusiast. So I am like,
I think that fits.
So many things that light me up, and I'm like genuinely interested in.
How do you deal with that? Because I get a lot of questions about that. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
We have this in common when you like a lot of different things, and it can kind of feel like, whoa, like I know I need to focus on one thing, or like that. At least that's the world wants us to think that way. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, make sure that you're not just like choosing something out of like an ADHD, like we're gonna start a new hobby. I've learned to like try to steer away from that.
Yeah.
But like for me, the biggest like kind of like grounding forces are film and poetry. Those are kind of like the two biggest ones. I've also done music, but not as much as film and poetry. And there's this artist. He's a filmmaker, writer, musician. He just directed The Color Purple, but someone really inspiring.
Oh, I think I saw a round table with him.
Yeah,
I love this Hollywood report. Yeah.
Incredible. And I listened to some podcasts with him, and he talks about this concept of creative rotation, where it's kind of like crop rotation, where like you can't keep planting the same crop in soil like every single year. It's going to exhaust the soil.
Yeah.
It's not going to get like diversity of nutrients. So, you plant different things certain years, and that like yields a really fruitful, healthy crop. And that kind of, I definitely relate to that with different mediums, because like I can like go really hard on poetry and I'm feeling really inspired, but when that's like drying up and I'm not feeling a lot, then I can move to film and I can do something, or I can play with music. Like I'm constantly creative and on, but I'm switching what medium I'm using to express my thoughts, and I have a richer, more diverse creative life because of that. And I think it's really easy. Like society will tell you, they'll be like, nope, you gotta like stick with one thing, and then shoot to the top.
Yeah, because people want to like pigeonhole you, so
exactly.
they'll
But the thing is, I'm like, you know what? If this journey to the top, whatever the top is.
Yeah, what is the top? We're already in Paris. Like,
exactly, we're at the top.
This is the top. This is the top. I mean, my petit courrier. This is, how is it going to get better?
But like for me, I think it might take longer for me, and I'm okay with that because I'm having fun. I'm doing like,
that sounded like a monologue from a film. Like, it might take longer for me, but that's okay. I'm having fun. It just sounded like so like passionate when you said it.
Yeah, but it's true. Like, I'm like, you know what? I have friends who are like insanely talented painters, and that's like
Thank
the
you.
only thing. You are definitely on that list. Insanely talented, like at like one medium, like super focused on painting, and like they are going far in their career because they can dedicate all of their time and creative and professional resources and focus to that one medium. Yeah. And if that's you, congratulations, that is incredible.
Congratulations, bitch.
That is incredible. And you're probably going to get there faster.
Yeah.
But for me, for us, these scattered creatives, it might take, it probably is going to take us longer to get to that finish line. Yeah. But we'll get there authentically and by having fun.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true. There's this, I forget which painter it was, or maybe she was a musician. Was it Joni Mitchell? I'm not sure. But she said, one of those like folk musicians, she said, the reason why I can make music is because I paint. And the reason I can paint is because I make music. Yeah. And sometimes I do get frustrated because, you know, I think the downside of being somebody that has a lot of different things going on is there's only so many hours in a day. Yeah. And, you know, like you said, you're going hard on your poetry, so you're like really focusing on that. But that ultimately means that, you know, at the time, your other crops are not maybe being in, and you do probably miss that too. Like I miss sometimes, I'm like, oh, like I haven't painted in a few weeks, I miss that. you know, but at the same time, it's like, in order for that one crop to really grow, it does demand your time. And, you know, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with, you know, do you ever miss your other mediums when you're focused on, how do you deal?
Well, like, for example, with film, like, that was a solid decade of my life.
Also, I am listening to you, but I'm trying to look at the camera too, because otherwise we're going to just be like that.
Well, honey, we started and I thought we were doing a lighting test, so I was like, well, like... But
honestly, I should do that every time I film them.
Where you don't know that we're actually filming.
Because then they'll be more authentic. You know what I
mean?
Well,
no, it wasn't that I was unauthentic. It was just like, I'm authentic right now, but before I was like I was confused why you were going on for so long, because I thought you were doing that. I was like, oh, she's doing an audio test too. Like, I'm like, damn. Like, I was like, how is this gonna end? Like an improv skit where like we kept. I was like, do I keep going? Like, how long is this lighting test?
Oh my god. Also, like, I'm just getting used to filming with other people too. So if we're too much like this, I'll try to fix it in the next videos. If I'm too much like this, if I'm eating too many cookies, I'm figuring it out.
This whole thing is a test.
This whole thing is a test. Isn't like the whole test.
It definitely is.
Yeah. I mean, I have ADHD too, because sometimes I'll forget what we were talking about.
We were talking about, okay, the what I was going to say was, so like a decade of my life was like fully dedicated, not fully because I was also writing, but like very much in film. I went to film school. As cinematic.
She went to film school.
Pre-SFX. But like fully like living in LA, working in Hollywood, like doing films.
What did you do on films?
I started out in production design, like art department, and then I transitioned into shooting, producing, directing, like a lot of short form. I worked for BuzzFeed and like was doing a lot like that kind of stuff, and then also doing short narrative films of my own. Like,
was that fun to work for BuzzFeed, or did you hate it? I mean, they might watch this. I don't think they watch this new.
There was a lot of like drama and politics, but I loved it. Like,
what was the drama?
Not gonna get into it. You can watch the I Love BuzzFeed videos by everyone, but like I was.
Oh, the I Left BuzzFeed.
Yeah. But no, it was fantastic, and like I was able to, because you have to do everything. You have to like come up with a video idea. You have to.
Oh, you were doing like the whole thing.
Literally everything. Like you.
It's like you're a YouTuber without your own channel.
100%. You have to come up and you could pitch the idea. You get approval for the idea. Then you produce it, and you shoot it, and you edit it, and you do everything. So I was doing the like beauty style channel. So I would have to like cast models and like makeup artists, and then do that. And so
it seems like kind of fun though.
It was really fun.
You know, it's like you're like that creative bitch. It's like I work for BuzzFeed. You know
what I mean? Literally would bring like puppies into work and like have Bagel Friday. And
see, like that's what I'm talking about. Like that must have been hard in a sense to leave when you're like, I'm gonna start over. As exciting as it is, like you had like this kind of cool job. So it's even more of a risk, the fact that you.
Yeah. Well, I was at that point. I had already left BuzzFeed and I was freelancing and freelancing as like a director, producer, editor. They call it a predator, but I hate that title. Yeah. And then doing my own stuff on the side. And the thing is, I do genuinely miss film, you know, and it's a true love of mine. Like,
have you tried to get into it at all in Paris, or is it like you haven't had even like a second to breathe with moving and?
Not
because you just moved here.
I moved a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked into it, but it's one of those things where I'm like trusting it. It will come back into my life. Like it will. I know it will because it's like truly in my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like on another crop right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The cinema crop is like it's in seed form and it's growing. So.
And I hope that you brought some of your poetry. Do you have any with you? Like even on your phone?
I did bring some.
Okay. So I want her to read a poem to you guys because she's an amazing poet. And also we're both, you know, and we're both poets, but she's like, you know, on her journey of getting your first book published as well. And I know for my part, it was the best option for me to self-publish. But can you talk about sort of like how you're going through that process right now of deciding to self-publish or
go with the publish.
Yeah, like how do you feel, like how are you doing? First of all, like how did you write your book? How was that process of writing your book? Did you write every day? How was that process?
Kind of how, so I have written books before. I've since unpublished them.
Oh, you did?
I was like very young and I didn't have any.
Were they like love novels?
They were all like love related.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Steamy.
It was like a trilogy. It was a trilogy.
What was it called?
The third one was the breakup book, which was called Portrait of Your Ex Assembling Furniture.
Oh, I love that. That sounds like very Lena Dunham-y.
It's like that one. I haven't unpublished that one yet because like I'm waiting for this book. I want like something to be out there, but it's like absolutely nothing like what I write now. But it's almost like a diary now where I look back at it and it's like very cringe.
But was it fiction?
No, it was all poetry.
Oh, it was poetry.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a fiction, like a love book.
Oh goodness,
which I would love to read too. Like I'm like a sucker for that.
So I self-published those.
Yeah.
And I was very young and didn't know anything. And
through KDP, which is like Amazon KDP.
Yeah. It's very easy to.
Yeah, a lot of people message me and they're like, "How do I do that?" And I'm like, I think the issue isn't putting it online. The issue is like how you're gonna format it first.
Formatting it and then also distribution.
Yeah.
So I was like bringing books. I could only distribute the books to like bookstores I could physically go and drop off copies to.
Yeah.
And I would like drop off copies and then when they sold out, they'd be like, okay, we'll take more copies. And then, but it was only like bookstores in LA. So now that I have this book, that I feel so much better about it. This has been like years of me writing and like throwing out poems and like editing them and adding new ones, and I really feel solid about it. So now I'm like, I'm either gonna self-publish, but like bring all the knowledge that I brought from previous self-publishing, and then, or if there's a press that wants it, different presses have like contests where you can submit manuscripts. It was like a finalist for one, but they only pick one.
Right, right.
So even if you're a finalist, like it's still not going to get published.
Yeah. And I think like you have to also ask yourself, as far as like your situation in life, for example, when I decided to self-publish, it was because like, you have a YouTube channel and all of that, so it just was the easiest idea. But I think when you have a YouTube channel too, so that could also be like a good option. But like for those of you out there that maybe don't have like an online presence, doing those contests and things can be like a really good way to get your first book out there. And as far as like the formatting, something that I did is I got a lot of poetry books that I liked, and then I was like, how did they space everything?
Yeah.
And then try to find one and like model it, like don't copy, but try to model like the spacing and because otherwise like I had no idea what I was doing. So I was like, I need to find like a way to figure out how to put this on paper, in like a way that's legible and things.
Yeah, like go to a bookstore, browse a bookstore, like what are you attracted to, what do you like, and like look through it and be like, oh, okay, so they like have an epigraph and then like have quotes in the beginning and then they, see what you are attracted to.
And how is it finding like an arts community in Paris for you? Have you found like-minded poets? I mean, I know the answer to all these questions, but like for the listeners.
I've actually been really surprised at how, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because it's such a cliche that like American writers come to Paris.
Right.
Like the whole Ernest Hemingway movable feast type of situation.
Oh, so you've met a lot of Americans that moved here.
Yes,
okay, to be writers?
Or just like English speaking people, like people from Ireland and England, and just like there's such a dream here of like being a writer and writing in Paris, which is like incredibly romantic, like not gonna lie. But as a result, there are so many English language poetry groups, writing groups, open mics.
There are a lot of open
mic groups, and because I feel like I've tried writing poetry in French. I've tried translating stuff, and it doesn't work in French for me. It like really I write it in English, and like poetry is such a tricky thing to translate.
Yeah,
and so having found like writers group and open mics that are all in English has been really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you found those just by like word of mouth or
Google searching. I Google searched, showed up, made some friends.
That's like I feel, and I also feel like, so I went to her housewarming party, and I swear to you, this girl just moved to Paris, and she had like, you had like 15 people there or something. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but like, yeah, there was like 15 people there. Yeah. And I was like, how did she know so many people so soon? And I feel like you're really good at that, of just going. Don't you do like so many? You
lots of extracurricular activities.
Yeah, she has like a lot of extracurricular activities, and I feel like I'm not as like, it's not that I'm not as good at that. I just don't think to do it. How do you? Have you always been like that?
I have.
Didn't you say like in high school you were like on all these clubs or something?
So like, if anyone has seen the Wes Anderson movie Rushmore, I am essentially like, or I was in high school, like the female Max Fisher, but was like getting straight A's as well. And like the thing with like this character is that he's like in every single club, and he's like president of like 20 clubs, and like, you know, doing everything. And so like you like look through, someday someone's gonna like find my high school yearbook, and I'm like, why is this girl in like every single photo? Like I was in every club, not every club because there were only 5 days a week. You know, so you could only be in 5 clubs max unless there was an after school one. But I was like in, oh my gosh, I was present like some like environmental club and sign language club and art club, and like briefly went to film club, but it was all guys, and they kind of like, it was like a guys club, and they kicked me out kind of. I don't know. And then,
so are you an introvert or an extrovert?
No, I'm definitely an extrovert. I'm like an extrovert who needs my alone time creatively.
Okay.
Like I can't constantly be on, but I love meeting new people.
Really?
Love it. Like, I'm just so excited by meeting new people and being like, what is your story? Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
I like meeting new I'm good.
I feel like see, here's the thing is like, when you arrive to a new big city, you have to go out to meet people.
Yeah.
But because, like I said, I meet a lot of people online, I got kind of lazy about it. I'm like, well, I'll just invite people over, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this year, like, one of my big goals was to like push myself to go to like events or do jams or things like that that I actually. Because honestly, like every time I do go out, I meet really cool people, but it's just like getting yourself to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I always think to myself like, oh, like I'm having fun, but I would have more fun at home alone. You know what I mean?
No, there are definitely nights where I'm like, no, but I'm definitely just sitting in my room listening to music. I'm gonna like write stuff, or I don't know.
What do you like consider like a good time? Like, is it conversations with people? Like, for example, if I go to a party, I'm like, this is nice, but like what I really want to do is like go into a corner with somebody and just like talk about our deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah, that can absolutely be a good time.
Like, what is it to you? Like, what do you think is like a good time when you go out in Paris?
I think it's joy.
Oh my God, you're so wholesome.
No, genuinely, like, you know how people do that thing where they like pick their word for the year? Like, my word for this year is joy.
Aww.
And yeah, I feel like if there's joy, like,
you have the skin of somebody that has like a lot of joy in their life. Like just like very like pure, nice skin.
Maybe that's the skincare term. French skincare plus joy.
Oh wait, what are you using for like French skincare?
Not sponsored, but I use a lot of Caudalie.
Okay.
I made some skincare routine videos on my channel.
Go check them out if you want to have skin like a Russian doll. Anyway, God, I keep getting off topic, but there's just like so much to talk about, and because I think when you are an American and you make that decision to move abroad, especially as an artist, there's so many things that go into it, and like there's so much. So yeah, we talked about your self-publishing, or maybe not, like you'll see how it goes. I also wanted to ask you very briefly about dating in France, if you're open to talking about it.
Okay.
Just very briefly. I like to ask people this because I think there's like such a, do you feel like there's a difference? How has it been?
I do think that there is a difference. In general, especially when I've talked to my French friends who, you know, grew up in France, they're French, the dating culture in general is very different. Kind of in the fact that, like, at least when they were in like high school or college, or there wasn't this very, like, I feel like in America there's a very formal, like, I am asking you on a date, and this is our first date, and this is our second date. And like, you know, there isn't, like, people still go on dates, and there's dating apps and all that, but like, I feel like it's more of, at least the French people that I know that have gotten into relationships, it's been a very, like, natural, like, oh, I guess we're dating now because we've been seeing each other for like 3 months or something. Like, I was talking to someone recently, and there's like I don't remember what it was, but there's like a certain time marker where like she was American and he was French, and they like brought up, like, the French guy was like, yeah, there's like a time marker, like, and if you've been together for a certain amount of time, like, you are together. Whereas in America, it's very much like, you need to have the conversation.
Oh my god.
You know?
I remember with, like, my ex, like, when I didn't know that, like, he thought that we were dating for the longest time, and I was like, we're not dating, like, you gotta ask me.
Yeah, apparently in France, if you, like, hit this certain mark, I don't know what it is, if it was like 3 months or 6 months, but like, if you hit
2 weeks.
Like, you don't even need to talk about it, you're dating.
Yeah.
If you get past that mark, you're dating, and you're assuming you're not seeing other people. Whereas Americans, it's like, well, we've been together for 6 months, but we haven't had the conversation.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the people might be seeing someone else, like...
Whereas, like, French people find it childish to have the conversation.
Yeah.
They're like, why do we need to, like, put labels on it? Like, why do we need to, like...
Yeah.
So... I wanted to also ask you to read us a poem, if you'd be into it. There's one that I really love, but I forgot which one it was. Also, what do you like to write poems about? Is it like your personal life, or is it fantasies?
It's
kind of both.
I definitely bring myself into it a lot, but I think recently I've been doing a lot of, like, I don't know, I try to bring some humor into it, a lot of pop culture.
There was one that, what's the one that I love so much that you read on Zoom at one time?
I read the Waiting.
We were all like, oh my god, it's so good. But I don't remember which one it was.
There was the internet one, and there was the ski mask one.
Wait, ski mask one was kind of saucy, right?
Yeah, I figured that might be censored on YouTube.
I might get demonetized from sexual poetry.
I figured I would not read the ski mask one because I don't want you to get demonetized.
Yeah, you'll have to buy her book if you want the saucy ski mask poetry
poems without, you know.
Okay, well, read whichever one you want to read. Okay.
Do you want when you heard, like, this is, I think I read this one.
Oh, read the one about crying in front of a stranger. You know, I love that shit.
Deep ones. Yeah. Actually, not a lot of these are like dark deep, but we're starting there.
Okay.
Today I cried in front of a stranger, and he looked at me like he was afraid. Like a woman crying is a question he doesn't have the answer to.
Ah, I love it. I also love I told you this before, but I love your voice when you read poetry out loud. It sounds very like spoken word.
Oh god. Yeah, I'm slightly trying to get out of that.
No, I like it.
But happy birthday.
What's the one about being pretty?
I'm waiting for the internet to tell me I'm pretty.
Tell her she's pretty in the comments.
Like the Purple Palace will understand. We'll read the internet poem for the Purple Palace community. And I wrote this, like, the way I formatted it, I wanted to format it like Google search results. Where, like, the lines are like, you know when you like type something in and you're like, how do I, and it like autofills like a bunch of things, so I like kind of played with that as well. I'm waiting for the internet to tell me I'm pretty. Tell me I'm responsible enough to buy a white couch, matching dishware, an ionic breeze for the bedroom. Why did no one bother telling me area rugs are so expensive? Be thankful your mother told you to leave your eyebrows alone circa 2004. It's never too early to invest in an overpriced under-eye cream. What are you doing with your life if you're not awake at 5 a.m., starting every day with a glass of water, a squeeze of lemon, a shot of apple cider vinegar? I've been watching too many What I Eat in a Day YouTube videos and wondering when models became YouTubers, when YouTubers became models, when everyone became a model, everyone is a model. I download Facetune and immediately delete it. I spend the weekend Googling pretty celebrities with ugly noses, flat chests, round faces. My friend got hit by a car and broke his leg. He manifested it fully healed in 3 weeks' time, so I fall asleep every night picturing myself with a jawline as strong as Keira Knightley's. I decide to buy houseplants instead of groceries. I consider myself holy until they die and I start again. If you're entertaining house guests, make sure the bathroom has expensive hand soap, scented candles, a medicine cabinet devoid of prescription drugs. I somehow end up at a house party, too many pretty 20-year-olds with famous parents, hand-rolled cigarettes, Adderall prescriptions to curb their appetites. I wonder how so many girls are pulling off berets in this summer heat, drinking vodka like water, keeping their lipstick perfect post-live stream kiss. I leave early. I drunk text you, I saw that skinny girl, you know, the pretty one in that music video we watched with the famous mother. She had on a leopard print miniskirt, and I almost went up to her, said, "Hey, hi, do I know you? Remind me of your name." Before I remembered she was just pretty, I Googled late at night, waiting for the internet to finally show my face.
Wow, that was the one that you read that we were
really?
like, oh my god, I just love it. I think it's so like actual for today, you know?
Yeah.
That one just like hits. So everyone in the comments, tell Nico that she's pretty. She's been waiting for the internet to tell her that she's pretty.
My dreams will finally come true. It's so interesting.
But that's such a beautiful piece, really.
Thank you. I wrote this so long ago.
But it's still current today. That's what's so crazy about it. Well, I guess like
I'm glad that it stands up. No, but it's interesting to like when you write poetry, even if it's not for anyone else, even if you're just writing poetry in your bedroom, you can like look back at a poem and see where you were emotionally and how you were looking at the world. Because this was when I was living in LA.
Yeah.
And I like, this is so like not me anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and it totally was at a time. And so it's interesting to see like that evolution. Yeah.
Do you get the feeling as well, like when you write a poem afterward, that feeling of like release? Like, how do you feel? Do you get like frustrated when you write? Like, what is the feeling when you're actually writing? Or do you go into it like with a result that you're looking for? Or is it kind of like almost like you treat it like a journal in a sense? Like, what is your relationship with writing poetry?
A lot of times, well, I mean, poems come out in different ways. Sometimes, like, I'm on the metro and I see something and it sparks an idea and I'm, like, in my notes app writing something.
Yeah.
Other times, I'll, like, learn about a concept or, like, have an idea generally. Like, it's in the ether. It's here. And I need to figure out how to get it into a poem form. Like, I know what I want to say, but what words do I need to use to say it? I feel like those are the two. Like, sometimes they just, like, come out of me. Other times I'm like, okay, I have this thing that I want to say, and I want to get into a poem form. Or like, wouldn't it be fun to write a poem about XYZ? And then I, you know, write a poem about that. So
there's a lot of different ways. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to connect. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And what would you say right now is your biggest obstacle with your creative practice? Like, what is something that you are looking for, like, expansion on? Or
that's a good question. I think just like getting to a point where I fully believe that like anything's possible.
Yeah. Think about your apartment.
Like
your
exactly, like my apartment has been my motivator, because I'm like, okay, if I can like do this apartment search like method, but to the rest of my life, the rest of my life, I'm like, how can we apply the wisdom of finding a Parisian apartment to my career or my creativity or relationships or anything? So
just reminding, it's like you know it to be true, but it's more just like to stay in that feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what, if any, advice would you give to anybody who's watching and maybe wants to pursue writing or poetry, or even wants to move to France? Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah. I think
it's like so much like this question is always like so like follow your dreams, like do it. But
you should.
Yeah.
No, I genuinely think that if you have a dream in your heart, like not a dream that's like a superficial thing, or like I want this because I want you know, Caleb to like me.
Who's
like,
Caleb?
I don't know. Caleb's for someone out there. Like, if you have a genuine dream in your heart, whether that is to move to a certain country or to become a painter or a writer or make music, like whatever it is, you have that dream for a reason, and it means it's possible. You would not have that dream in your heart if it was not at least this much possible. Like, it's possible, and I think it's just about, like, walking through that fear and doing it. And you know what? If you stumble, it's okay.
Absolutely.
If you, I mean, you are so inspiring when you say, like, make bad art. Like, you have that whole like you, it's okay to make bad art. Like nothing has to be perfect, especially when you're starting. Like, find the joy in the creation of it.
Yes.
You know? Like, if making music in your bedroom brings you joy, do it. Like,
do it.
If moving to France gives you joy, do it. Like, I can attest.
And I think if you ever have any doubts of like, oh, I shouldn't do this, or your mind wants to keep you from an evolutionary standpoint, like, comfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
So those fears are just your mind trying to keep you safe, and like, we do need that part of our mind. But the worst thing is you try and you fail, but at least you'll have grown and learned something. And I think the biggest thing is just to stop caring what people think about you.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's so liberating.
Who are they
it's so
anyway?
freeing.
Yeah.
Like, it's a process. You're not going to suddenly, like, go to sleep and wake up and not care what people think about you.
Yeah.
But slowly shedding that, like, in small ways,
you
get to a point where you're like, oh, this is so relieving.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, to not be worrying about what random people are thinking about you, even, like, what your friends are thinking about you or your crush is thinking about you. Like, it's so liberating.
Yeah. Care more about your dreams than what people think about you.
Use that, I mean, channel that energy into what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Nicolette for coming on to one of our first Paris Artist Sessions. Go find her YouTube channel on Instagram. I'll link everything down below. And yeah, it was so beautiful to have you here, and to hear your poetry again in person is just like so remarkable. So, to finish the episode, make sure to comment down below, like, subscribe, and we can blow out the candle together. One, we'll make a wish together for everybody, collectively, to stop caring what people think and just follow your dream. 1, 2, 3.